Okay, let's dive into this, because today we're tearing down a massive myth about money that almost everyone believes, right? We're all kind of conditioned to think that the ultimate life-changing financial milestone is hitting that magical $1 million. And sure, $1 million is absolutely great, but looking at our source material today, the truth is actually much more grounded and frankly, a whole lot more urgent. The first $10,000 you save, that will actually change your daily behavior, your psychology, and your entire life trajectory far more than the next 100,000. Seriously. In this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly why that is, look at the hidden psychological weight of money, and really figure out how reaching that five-figure foundation fundamentally rewires your brain. Now, you've probably experienced this exact scenario. You check your bank account, and technically, there is money sitting there, right? Maybe it's $800, maybe $1,000, or even $2,000. But emotionally, you still feel completely broke. Why is that? Well, it's because subconsciously, you know that this amount doesn't actually provide real security. It's kind of just a mirage. One unexpected bill, a flat tire, a surprise medical expense, or just a really slow work month, and suddenly that $1,000 disappears like it was never even real. You end up finding yourself trapped in this suffocating cycle where you just keep telling yourself, I'll get ahead next month, but you're really just climbing out of the exact same hole over and over again. It's funny when people online tell you to invest your money or buy assets. It sounds absolutely ridiculous when you only have a few $100 to your name. At that level, money doesn't function as a financial tool, it functions as oxygen. You're not sitting around pondering how to build generational wealth or, optimize a stock portfolio. No, your brain is completely consumed with just trying to survive Thursday. You're basically holding your breath, hoping nothing goes wrong. And that state of constant financial asphyxiation, it dictates literally every single choice you make. Going from $0 to $10,000 isn't just some mathematical shift, it is a full-blown psychological rescue mission. Think about it. When you have zero savings, your brain is locked in a permanent state of defense mode. You're constantly checking prices, feeling guilty about tiny purchases, and honestly worse than that, you just can't think clearly. Because you're only focused on how to survive the week, you end up making incredibly expensive short-term decisions. You swipe high-interest credit cards, you take out predatory loans, or you tolerate completely underpaid work, all because you literally cannot afford the luxury of a long-term decision. Panic makes life incredibly expensive. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we're talking about. Imagine a $1,200 car repair suddenly hits. For person A, who only has $300 saved, it is a total disaster. It goes straight onto a 20% interest credit card and quietly transforms from a standard repair into this suffocating monthly payment that breeds stress and stops them from saving next month. But for person B, who has 10 grand in the bank, this exact same repair is just annoying. Nobody's celebrating at the mechanic, but they just pay cash, their balance drops a bit to $8,800, and they simply rebuild it. For person A, it's a debt-inducing trauma. For person B, it's literally just a Tuesday. To really grasp what's happening here, think about how you handle a storm. Life is always going to throw storms at you, and it will for sure always throw punches. Car breaks down, rent goes up, you get your phone stolen. These aren't rare freak disasters, they're just life. Having $10,000 is like finally having a real winter jacket in a freezing storm. It's like being a boxer who finally has the footing to absorb a punch. The punch still lands, you still feel the hit, but it doesn't knock you out cold on the mat. You can step back, catch your breath, recover, and keep moving forward. It isn't glamorous, but wow, it is incredibly powerful. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that you shouldn't look at $10,000 as one massive, impossible mountain. It really helps to break it down into a highly manageable, three-step psychological staircase. The first layer is your emergency shield. That's the first $1,000 to $2,000 that simply stops small problems from immediately turning into credit card debt. The second layer is your stability fund, around $3,000 to $6,000 that covers your basic living expenses and buys you some serious emotional breathing room. And then the third layer is where the absolute magic happens, the opportunity fund. This is your launch pad, and it completely changes how you interact with the world around you. Let's talk about what that opportunity fund actually buys you in the real world, particularly in your career. When you have no savings, well, your employer holds all the cards. But with that buffer in place, your entire posture shifts. You don't walk in acting arrogant, but you do walk in calm. You suddenly have the power to negotiate, you can flat out say no to toxic job offers, and you can comfortably survive a gap between jobs. And here's the secret. Employers, clients, and customers, they can all smell desperation. When you're desperate, you naturally accept way less than you're worth. A financial cushion completely masks that scent, allowing you to make career decisions from a position of absolute strength. $360,000. That is what investing just $300 a month at a 7% return over 30 years can look like. It's that magic of compound interest everybody always talks about. But here is the catch that the finance gurus almost always miss. You can only achieve this math if you actually leave the money alone. If you try to invest before you have that $10,000 foundation, the very first time your car breaks down, you're going to panic sell your investments to pay for it. That 10K buffer provides the emotional stability required to actually let your investments compound without you constantly rating them just to survive. So the crucial point is reaching 5 figures is incredibly exciting, which is exactly why a lot of people make a fatal error right at the finish line. They start treating it like a shopping signal. But think about it. You would never pour a solid concrete foundation for a house, admire it, and say, amazing, let's rip half of this up to go buy a new couch, right? No way. This is strictly boring money. It is a stable, quiet foundation. You aren't tapping into it for a vacation, a phone upgrade, or some flash sale online. And maintaining that boring money is exactly what keeps your actual life exciting and free of constant emergencies. Getting to this milestone requires abandoning the idea that a few days of cute motivation will somehow save you. You need strict rules. Step 1, pick a real fixed monthly number that you can actually commit to. Step 2, automate that transfer immediately when you get paid, because if money doesn't have a job, your impulses will definitely hire it. Step 3, put it in a completely separate account so you aren't tempted by it every day. Step 4, stop using windfalls like tax refunds to upgrade your lifestyle. Use them to upgrade your foundation. And step 5, attack the big leaks. Skip the endless debate about your morning coffee and look at the massive drains, your housing, your car payments, and high-interest debt. Let's move to and see how this builds in real life by comparing 2 friends, David and Mark. Now, they make the exact same income. Mark sets a boring rule to save $500 a month. David decides he's going to wait until he makes more money. For the first few months, David looks like he's having way more fun. But then, at month 6, a $1,500 emergency hits them both. Mark pays cash and moves on. David puts it on a credit card and gains a whole new monthly payment. Fast forward to month 20, Mark hits his $10,000 milestone. He has proven to himself he can reach a goal and handle life's blows. David, he's still paying off last year's emergency. Consistent, boring plans just always beat spontaneous living. This all brings us to the ultimate psychological shift. Before you hit that buffer, your entire existence is basically played on defense. You're constantly reacting to the world, just trying to avoid the next disaster. Waking up every single day asking, can I survive this? But the moment you secure that foundation, you transition entirely to offense. You can finally start planning for the future. You have the actual breathing room to pursue new opportunities, maybe start a side hustle or learn a new skill. Your primary question changes from, can I survive, to a much more exciting one, what can I build? We've covered the math, the layers, and the rules. But honestly, the hardest part of saving your first real chunk of money isn't the math. It's the identity shift. If you've always felt like you're behind, you have to stop seeing yourself as a person who is constantly controlled by every bill and every fear. You have to start seeing yourself as someone who plans, someone who builds, and someone who fiercely protects their foundation. Hitting this milestone shatters the belief that you are permanently stuck. The blueprint is right in front of you. So the only question left is, are you ready to change who you are?